Hey, what's up? This is Todd Smith. I'm back with another video. In this video, I'm going to talk about 1 year of using iOS as a main music production platform. I've been using iOS as a main music production platform for over a year now, so this is actually a little bit dated, but I feel it's just a really good title, and a year is kind of a good milestone for me to make a solid review. Now, if you've watched my channel, you know that the iPad has kind of taken over my whole entire setup. I personally feel it's one of the most promising and powerful platforms I've ever touched in music production. It's just the idea of what I like about it and the points I'm going to touch upon. I kind of made 7 points that I feel are really, really powerful in the iOS system. So I figured I'd go over those today. I really got the iPad iOS as just another synth. I was going to add it as one more adaptable synth that I could kind of change to what I wanted. Because most synths you buy, they are what they are. You can't really change them. I thought the cool thing about the iPad was I could buy it and I could use a different synth for whatever song I want, and it could be a moldable synthesizer. And that's really the reason why I got the iPad. I really had no idea it was going to take over my whole entire ecosystem in production. But a year later, it really is the forefront of my production and my ecosystem and just music in general. Now iPad has become the forefront and Gear has kind of started to support my iPad. But before I go any deeper into that, I'm going to really go into the 7 points that I feel are really strong about the iPad. And these are just the first 7 that came to my head. I can go well beyond this. Number 1 is obvious: size and portability. That's the first thing you really see with this. You can't argue that. It's small, it's portable, and you can bring it anywhere. It has battery life that it can run off of. If you have a really powerful setup and you're playing live, I wouldn't want to run it off battery. I would want to have these things powered live just to give it more stability. That is for sure. But the fact is, it's lightweight, mobile, and can go anywhere, and you can work on it anywhere. That is, no one can debate that. It's very, very powerful in that sense. And the portability goes beyond just casual use. I'm starting to get really serious. In the next couple of years, I want to start playing live. And when I start playing live, I want to take this serious. I want to start going on tours. And one of my biggest dreams is to go overseas, play in Europe, play in Germany, play in all these places that are not in America. Because honestly, if you listen to my music, you would kind of see how my music would fit in the European scene. And I would never be able to do that with a room full of hardware. It would cost me so much money just to get my setup over to other places that I would never be able to translate what I do in the studio out in public without compromising what I do. And the concept of having the iPad as the center and a few portable hardware pieces around it so the whole thing can be fit in a bag and it's really portable, and I don't really have to worry about spending a bunch of money if on a plane if I travel. It might just be one extra bag, not cases and cases of gear that you have to pay a lot of money to travel with. So the portability factor to me is more than just convenience in the casual sense. It's convenience in me performing in the future. And number 2 kind of falls in line with this. It's fast setup, no wires, just boom, boom, boom. No matter where you are, you turn this thing on. The worst thing you have to do is run a USB cable for MIDI and then power it up for power. There's no wire spaghetti that you get with hardware. When I go to a live show, I'll literally have to hook in my iPad, an OP1 and a microcorg, and it'll be simple, quick, and I won't have a lot of stress, and I won't have to be there 2 hours before just wiring all this crazy stuff up that, I don't know, I could be short timed. I could be under pressure because the place is pushing me, and then all of a sudden MIDI doesn't work because one MIDI cable is not hooked up right. And I don't know, I could just see that being a huge headache, definitely when you're doing this if you're trying to, again, bring this overseas or do something really big. So the idea of just fast, easy setup, convenient setup is another thing on top of the small and portability. Another thing I love about the iPad is it works well with many interfaces and many MIDI controllers. Actually, all MIDI controllers I've ever seen it works with. And the huge list of MIDI interfaces that the iPad works with surprised me. I didn't expect to plug my iPad into my Focusrite and have it working 100%. That was actually kind of the game-changing experience with me, and kind of when I started to look at the iPad as a little bit more of a bigger tool than what I thought it was when I bought it. The next thing is the amount of diversity and power that you get in a small package. This thing is powerful. This thing is diverse. And the fact that you get something so powerful, so diverse in such a small package is really just, again, the layer of things that just make me just use this thing daily. Next big point is low cost apps. Once you're in the ecosystem, once you have the iPad, these apps are dirt cheap. So the entry points on these apps are really, really amazing. I got some FabFilter effects that were insanely cheap on sale that I would never see on the computer or on Mac. So it's pretty nice to have low entry points on your applications. The next thing I consider a really strong point that some people might actually consider a weak point is a new developing ecosystem. Yes, it's in development, and honestly, it might be 5 years until it's completely fledged out 100%. But that's the cool part. It's already insanely powerful, and it's completely evolving and new. It is something that has never really been there before, in a sense, with the idea of portability, power, touchscreen, and everything that's going on with the technology. It's kind of a brand new ecosystem. And in a world of clones, people copying of copies that were popular back in the 80s and 70s, I love new stuff. That's why I love the Teenage Engineering OP1 and stuff of that nature, because it's fresh, it's new, it's different. And the iPad is just a perfect example of a fresh, new, developing ecosystem. It's already insanely powerful, and I can't wait to see what it's going to be like in another 5 years. Last but not least, I think this is the most important aspect of any synth. Whether you spend $5 on it or $10,000 on it, this is by far the most important thing of any synth. Is it fun and intuitive? Do you want to pick it up? Yes, for the iPad. That's what I love about it. Every day I come home, honestly, out of all my gear and all my hardware, I found myself picking up the iPad. That's what I knew, and that's after 2 months of me doing that. I mean, you can't really fight yourself at that point. You know what you're gravitating towards. You know what I mean? You know what you want to pick up. If you have a room full of stuff, it doesn't matter how much you spent on it. Whatever you go to and play every day, that's the most important piece to you, because that is what's drawing you to it. If that piece costs $20, then that piece costs $20. If it costs $10,000, it costs $10,000. Really, price is irrelevant at that point. And the iPad draws me. Every day I want to play it. Every day I want to touch it. Every day I want to create new sounds, make new music. And that's the most important aspect of any synth. And if you have that, you already have gold. You don't even, that's the most important thing. People keep buying gear, searching for that piece that pulls them in. And some people never find it. They just like the idea of music so much, they're searching for that piece. They're searching for that workflow. And you know what I'm talking about. The second I touched the iPad, I knew instantly it was for me, and it was just pumping music out right away. So, and when you find something like that, you go with it, because that's like your gut go. So those are my main strong points of the iPad iOS system for music production, and the reason why it's kind of taken over my hardware workflow, and now my hardware is kind of backup towards my iPad, and I kind of play my hardware live over my iPad sequences and stuff like that. And I feel that this is going to continue to develop in the future, and this setup is not going to change too much, because I love the idea of the mobility and the power, and also, like I said, the evolving ecosystem. So guys, that is my really 7 strong points of why I love iOS music production. and why I'm going to continue to use it as the main driving source of my music. Until next time, stay positive, stay creative, support each other. Peace.